Many people really think about osteoporosis, which is the so-called bone loss, that one should take it easy and avoid physical activity. But that is absolutely the biggest mistake one could possibly make.
That's why we're sharing 4 essential tips with you, so you can protect and strengthen your bones simultaneously.
Of course, there are reasons for this disease, and our recommendations directly address them. I can only say most of what you can do to fight osteoporosis is to stay active, as it really helps your bones break less over time. To counteract osteoporosis, you need to rebuild your bones and make them stronger.
And what Petra mentioned is precisely the reason why tip number 1 is movement. What does movement actually do? Movement isn't solely about the fascia and the muscles. It's also fundamentally connected to the forces that are actively involved. It has to do with the forces that the bones are exposed to, because every time we move, the muscles pull and exert force on the bones. And when you lift something extra or exert force outward, the bones get even more trained and significantly strengthened in the process. And one thing is clear: why does the bone deteriorate? It deteriorates because it's not stimulated enough. And the body is naturally structured to adjust itself to whatever demands are placed upon it. If nothing more is demanded of it, it breaks down. If more is demanded of it than it is currently used to, it builds up. So move in diverse ways consistently so that your bone doesn't break down but builds up.
And that's why nutrition also plays a crucial and significant role in maintaining healthy bones. So first of all, bones are living parts of our body. Many people think you have them once and then they just keep breaking down, but that's not the case at all, not even remotely true. They break down and build up depending on how you move and especially how you eat. And that's why, what is actually a really good diet for your bones? Well, I can only say in general, consuming plenty of good plant-based food plays a significant role in supporting them effectively. Precisely because this diet doesn't cause acidity. However, if you were to eat only animal-based foods or consume excessive amounts of dairy, your entire body would become overly acidic and unbalanced. And to counteract this acidity, the body actually goes to the bones and pulls out calcium to help neutralize and balance out the excessive acid buildup. And that's precisely what we don't want, of course. We aim to ensure the calcium the bone requires stays intact. That's why we should aim to eat more plant-based foods and reduce animal-based ones.
And tip number 3, now let's dive a bit deeper into movement, because that's exactly the area we're specialized in right now. If you're familiar with our exercises, and if not, you should definitely check them out and give them a try, then you'll notice that stretching can often be quite painful and uncomfortable at times. Why does it hurt? Because force is applied to the muscles. And which specific parts of the body are actually responsible for transmitting these forces? These are exactly the bones. And when you then go and, in the stretch we do, where the bone is already under load, that is getting a stimulus to become stronger, when you then incorporate strength training, where the muscles pull even more, in intervals, then there's an even greater load on the bones, which isn't that intense, but it's exactly the kind of load you'd expect, that the bone can just handle, but it gets a push, a stimulus to adapt and gradually grow even stronger over time. And of course, the entire bone metabolism is directly connected to the surrounding metabolic processes as well. Of course, the heart plays a role in metabolism, but the vast majority of metabolic activity between the cells, including the bone, which is also well supplied with blood, takes place outside of its direct influence. There are vessels running through it where all the substances get transported. The more metabolism is generated, the better it is. With our exercises, there are specific ones for the head-neck area, the shoulder arm section, the torso region, the pelvis leg zone, and the foot. We have exercises for every single area. And when you perform all these exercises regularly, every now and then, it ramps up and stimulates the metabolism precisely in those specific body muscle areas. And that's why you have a complete whole body supply with the metabolism, which allows your bones to precisely release the waste products they no longer need and to efficiently absorb and construct the essential nutrients they require, so to speak.
And there's another important topic to discuss. It's something I consistently observe and encounter with my patients over and over again. Specifically, patients who have osteoporosis or even the early stages of osteoporosis, they often also show a significant vitamin D deficiency as an additional issue.
That's why we developed our own vitamin D.
Yes, and that's why it's absolutely vital to ensure you're getting sufficient vitamin D daily. And you definitely won't manage that in winter because the sun is positioned in such a way that it simply lacks the strength to produce enough vitamin D from our subcutaneous fat tissue, the cholesterol, during those colder and darker winter months. And that's why it's absolutely crucial, especially during the winter months, that you ensure you're taking at least 2, 3, or even 4,000 international units of vitamin D daily. By the way, I also say this for the people who are here in summer, because many people actually don't go out in the sun anymore, either because they're afraid of the sun, or they slather on sunscreen with high SPF, or they're completely covered up from head to toe, which blocks their exposure to sunlight, so that no sun reaches the skin at all. And that's why you should really consider taking vitamin D supplements all year round, because getting enough through your diet alone is really quite challenging and often not enough. Really difficult. So it's actually not possible to absorb enough vitamin D that way. Of course, you also need vitamin K2 and naturally magnesium so that vitamin D can be activated. This ensures that calcium goes exactly where it's supposed to instead of getting deposited in the arteries, which could then lead to serious cardiovascular diseases over time. And that's exactly why you should also pay attention to what you're taking.
Do you know someone who suffers from osteoporosis? Then make sure to send them this video. They'll be very grateful to you.